This episode was brought to you by Squarespace. Spend less time on your website and more time on your art. Famous author and naturalist John Muir once said, "While trying to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe." Now, I must admit, this is an odd thing to think about, particularly because balancing a 400mm bird-watching lens onto a gimbal attached to the latest Sony camera while wisping through the Santa Monica Palisades on an electric skateboard made with only one wheel seems anything but natural. Why would anyone do this? What can possibly be gained by such a tightrope act? And in a day and age where content is consumed so easily on iPhones, can anyone see what I'm chasing? A specific aesthetic only possible with a ridiculously large entrance pupil. Characteristically, you would associate this aesthetic with wildlife photography. A crisp foreground with a background blurred beyond recognition. A distant echo of the environment, as if it was painted in a dream.
Oh my, Snuggies, that thing is huge. How expensive is this if I dropped it?
The lens is 12 grand.
Oh, that's it? So Josh hit me up, he was like, yo, I need a subject right now, where you at? I had said, right now you can come shoot me. I'm gonna remember that. I'm like, Josh, where you at? I need you right now. I'm calling in that favor. But Misha, you see this?
Jesus. Wow, I should probably shoot on this camera. Where did I put that lens? Okay.
Let's go.
Found it. So the real question is, why is this lens so expensive aside from this really large front element?
What do you want?
What makes you think I want something?
Well, you call me in the middle of the day. I got things to do, Josh.
I got this lens here. Sony lent it to me for like, well, I've had it about a month now.
I'm having deja vu. Didn't we already make this video like last 2 years ago?
Who's trying to drive you home? New lens acquired. Sony G-Master 400mm f2.8. The front element is significantly larger than most lenses, with an entrance pupil 4 times bigger. Begs the question, what happens when you stick this lens on a gimbal?
400-2.8. Oh, this thing is ridiculous. They told me not to take this off. Does anyone have a 2-pound counterweight? As I learned more composition, I slowly started narrowing the field of view that I prefer to shoot on. And definitely harder. Bumps are exaggerated. I'm having a hard time explaining just what the hell the entrance pupil is.
Just look down the lens. That's all I do. No, flip it around. There you go. Well,
You'll see what makes this lens so expensive. At 400mm and 2.8, you have an entrance pupil larger than 99.9% of lenses on the market. Creating a blurred background is an understatement. If you compare the background of an 85mm f1.4, despite the faster aperture, it's no match. The 400mm background looks like a painting, and if we compare the entrance pupil sizes, we can see why. 2.3 times larger.
your aperture, when viewed from the front element, that's your entrance pupil.
It appears like that big.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
it's not a real thing. It's
hard to explain because the aperture is a real thing. Like that's an actual hole, but what you're looking at is like a projection of it. Let me see now.
all right. So what we're
Who are you showing?
I'm showing the audience. You just be quiet. So at Sony Camera Camp, the biggest problem I had was that you couldn't get more than a second or two of straight looking footage. It was just yawing up and down too much because the Ronin-s was just way underpowered.
It's kind of ridiculous. The 400 2.8 on a gimbal, but also with the 360 cam mounted on it. This is kind of ridiculous.
And the physical length of this lens and camera combination makes it very challenging to get the center of gravity low enough so that the motors can do its thing. And look at this right here. This is just too high. The tactic I'm gonna do today is get the center of gravity lower and use a stronger gimbal like the RS2, which can handle like 25% more weight.
Chances that I could like borrow this for the day.
That's a $12,000 lens.
We're gonna take these screws out. I can guarantee you Sony does not want me doing this. Well, actually, I think now's a good time to mention that this lens was rented me from Lens Rentals. Thanks, guys. So this is our way in, which I think I have a cheese plate. So essentially what we're gonna do is we're gonna mount directly to this, and we just shaved off like an inch of mounting, bringing our center of gravity down a little bit lower, so we should get a little bit better performance. There's two other lenses that have this type of characteristics. In fact, the Sony 600mm f4 has an entrance pupil that's even bigger. It's 150 millimeters, and that's about the same price. It's $13,000. But then if you go up, Sigma has a 500mm f2.8, which is a whopping $26,000. And that entrance pupil is 178 millimeters. So it's even larger than this. There is so. All right, so why bother going through all this, right? Like, is it even worth it? Entrance pupil. At the end of the day, you're a cinematographer. You're looking for your work to stick out. You want this specific look. You want to experiment. I mean, how else are you going to get your work to stand out? Story? Actually, that is a good way. That'll work. Don't mind me, I had a better idea on how to do this build. Switch to 8K. Carrying camera on top of another camera, trying to film myself while filming is just not gonna work. I'm gonna have to rig something up. So there's this trick I picked up shooting Anamorphia 2 when I needed to have the camera attached to me so that I could get a crazy awesome shot. Laowa 9mm. The Snorri cam. Now Snorri cams are generally attached to the talent, as seen in movies like Requiem for a Dream. But in this case, we're attaching it to the gimbal, then setting focus on the lens because, well, that's the star of the episode. I'm using a Manfrotto friction arm along with a super clamp attaching directly to the battery grip of the RS2. A1 is pretty impressive. I mean, that 8K looks damn sharp. You guys might not be able to see it because I didn't upload it in 8K. Equipped with that sharp lens, like, oh my God. The only thing is that I don't think the gimbal technology is yet where it needs to be, where we can realistically use a lens like that at that focal length and have it be super smooth playback on real time. Like, we're still confined to 120p, which is fine because all of the slow-mo stuff that I shot is usable. It's just playing back at regular speed. It's still just a touch wobbly, but I'm excited because, you know, Deep Parallax is one of those aesthetics that I always try to put in my work. It's just so fascinating to me. You see it in a lot of these Netflix shows. My friend Jamie McPherson, who's one of the best shooters I've ever met in my life, shoots for Netflix, and he just puts it in all of his work. That's kind of what he's known for.
It's a very difficult situation to be in technically, because you're trying to use a very long lens, a 1500mm lens, while doing 40 miles an hour, bouncing all over the place. We took the camera, the Cineflex, off a helicopter, put it on a 4x4, and built a rig that allowed us to drive 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour. That was how we showed the speed and the dynamism of that group of cheetahs hunting together.
$500,000 Cineflex rigs that can handle that kind of like focal length. You know, it's exciting for us, you know, young filmmakers, cinematographers, exploring how we can get this look on a more affordable scale, even though $12,000 is not affordable at all. But I so want one. I so want one. The ironic thing is I actually used that lens filming a scene in Anamorphia because of those characteristics. I didn't tell anybody about it, but it solved the problem that I was having in terms of matching shots. And so I'll probably talk about that in a later episode and give examples. All right, looks like we can just make sunset. Did I set out to find Deep Parallax? Or is there something more? Regardless what my intention was, this is what I found. Even though this is a bird-watching lens, and even though we aren't through this mess, and even though the beach isn't what it used to be and is a stark reminder of times before, there's beauty in this. I'm reminded this is what I've been looking for. Evidence that we're human, that we're more similar than we are different, that sunsets are amazing regardless where you are or how much money is in your pocket. And there's nothing on this planet that beats human connection. Maybe that's what you want to set your work apart. Maybe it isn't the lens or the camera that makes your work unique, but what you decide to point it at in the end. So $12,000 lens, not really affordable. I get it. This is my recommendation, the Sony 200-600. This has got an entrance pupil of 95. Is it a G Master? It's not a G Master, although it's pretty damn sharp. In my estimation, is the best bang for your buck for full frame lenses with a very large entrance pupil. You're gonna be able to mimic a lot of the shots that I got on there. The only thing that you're gonna need is a... What the hell? What the hell is that? What the hell is that? It's doing about 10 RPM, but the motor actually goes up to 35 RPM. So we may be allowing you guys to go that fast. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, Marble Orbit launched last week, and already we're at $275,000 on Kickstarter. It's been tremendous, honestly, incredible growth. In fact, we hit $200,000 in the first day. Part of that reason was because I built a Squarespace website, and I did pre-orders. With the pre-orders, I was able to get people to put up their money day one, and that helped us get even more momentum on Kickstarter. With Squarespace's drag and drop templates, it's super freaking easy. You don't need to be a genius. It looks good, and they also have a built-in commerce structure. Within minutes, I was able to connect my Stripe account and my PayPal account and create inventory. Go to squarespace.com/makeartnow, and you get 10% off your first year. Do it. No, I know. I'm spamming the hell out of you with the orbit. Enough with the orbit. I get it. This is my first Kickstarter. I'm super excited. This is Josh Yo saying thank you very much. Stay creative. Go make some art.